At my sister's wedding, in front of 200 people. She called me a single mom that no one wanted. My mom laughed. My son saw everything. But what none of them expected was what her groom did next, and once he grabbed that mic, the entire room froze. Asterisk, I never thought heartbreak could wear lace and lipstick. But there I was sitting in the 5th row of my younger sister's wedding, clutching a napkin in my lap like it might keep me from falling apart. I wore the only decent dress. I had a navy blue wrap I'd bought on clearance 2 years ago for a friend's baby shower. I'd ironed it the night before, hoping no one would notice the fraying hem. Beside me, my son Milo sat cross-legged in his too small suit, the one I'd altered by hand to make it look new again. He was 8, full of questions and wonder, and, for weeks he'd been counting down to Aunt Camille's big day. He thought this wedding was going to be magical. He thought we were part of something. Maybe I did too. Camille was radiant. Of course, she always was. The golden child. The chosen one. She had this effortless glow, camera-ready, magazine-worthy, the kind of beauty that people never stopped commenting on. I got used to hearing "You must be Camille's sister," followed by a pause. Then, "You two don't really look alike, do you?" I used to smile and pretend it didn't sting. Camille got the praise. I got the pressure. She got the tiara. I got the broom. Still, I showed up. I sat through the ceremony. I clapped when she and Julian kissed. I even offered to help, pass out the favors, like some unpaid intern in a movie I didn't audition for. I wasn't invited to be part of the bridal party. I wasn't mentioned in the program. But I was here because Milo deserved to believe that family could mean something. And maybe, deep down, I still wanted to believe it too. The reception hall was dressed like a dream, crystal chandelier, gold tablecloths, violins in the corner playing some song I couldn't name. Everyone looked polished, styled, filtered. I tried to stay small. I found our table, table 14. In the back, near the swinging kitchen doors and the coat rack fitting. Milo didn't mind. He was too busy staring at the cake, whispering to me that it looked like a castle. His eyes sparkled like this was the best day of his life. I kept my smile steady. For him I buttered his roll, fixed the crooked clip in his hair, took a few blurry photos of us on my phone that I probably wouldn't post. Then the speeches started. First Julian's best man, a few jokes, a few tears. The kind of nostalgia that makes people dab their eyes with napkins. Then Camille stood. All eyes on her. Her dress shimmered like something out of a dream. She smiled like the whole room belonged to her. Maybe it did. "I just want to thank everyone for being here," she said, lifting her champagne flute. "This day is everything I imagined. Truly. I feel so loved." The crowd clapped politely. And of course, she continued, turning her smile to the back of the room. "I want to say something about my big sister." I froze. Milo leaned into me, excited. "That's you, Mom." I nodded. My heart started to race. Maybe this was it. Maybe Camille had grown. Maybe this was her moment to bridge the gap, to show me I wasn't invisible. "She's always been resourceful," Camille said with a wink. "She's the queen of DIY, do it yourself. Or die trying." A few chuckles. "She's strong, I'll give her that. Raising a kid all alone. That takes guts." A little louder laughter now. "But I guess it helps when you've got no one around to disagree with you, right?" Scattered laughs. My stomach dropped. Camille smiled wider. "Ria's always been independent. Mostly because, well, no one's tried to depend on her for very long." Laughter. Real, sharp, stinging. It hit me in the face like ice water. I blinked. I gripped the edge of the table. Milo looked up at me, confused. "Why are they laughing, Mom? What does she mean?" Before I could answer, my mother Teresa called out from her table. "She's just saying Ria's a little too experienced for the dating pool now. But hey, she still scrubs up okay." Roars of laughter now. Forks clinking, glasses raised. I sat perfectly still. Like a mannequin in a room of real people. Like if I moved, the shame would spill out of me in waves. Milo's face was crumpled. He wasn't smiling anymore. He looked between me and Camille, his voice small. "Did you do something bad?" That was the part that shattered me, not the mockery, not the applause. Not even my mother laughing like cruelty was her hobby. It was Milo's eyes searching my face for answers. Trying to understand why his mother, the woman who stayed up late sewing his Halloween costume and packed love notes in his lunchbox, was being turned into a punchline. I wanted to leave, I wanted to vanish. I wanted to grab his hand and run, before my tears betrayed me. But my legs wouldn't move. My voice wouldn't work. I could only sit there burning in silence while the people who were supposed to be my family raised their glasses to my humiliation. And then, a chair scraped back across the floor. Slow, deliberate. Julian, the groom, stood up. He didn't look amused. He didn't look at Camille. He didn't look at anyone at all. He looked straight at me. And I knew something was about to change. Julian's expression was unreadable. His hands were clenched at his sides. His jaw tightened. He stepped forward slowly, calmly, and took the microphone right out of Camille's hand. She blinked, caught off guard, her smile faltering. The room fell quiet, not the polite kind of silence that follows a speech. No, this was something heavier, tense, like the whole building was holding its breath. Julian cleared his throat, but he didn't look at Camille. He looked at me, and then at Milo. His voice was quiet but steady. I wasn't planning to say anything tonight, he began. At least not like this. But something happened just now that I can't stay silent about. You could hear a pin drop. Even the waitstaff had stopped moving. I've heard a lot about family while planning this wedding, Julian said. Camille and I talked about values, legacy, loyalty. I thought I understood what kind of family I was joining. He paused. But tonight, I watched a child's mother be mocked in front of him. I watched the people who should love her the most laugh like it was sport. Someone coughed nervously. A chair creaked. Camille shifted beside him, her eyes darting between him and her guests. Julian continued. I've only known Ria for a short time, but I've heard enough, and I've seen even more. He turned to the crowd. She shows up, always, without fanfare, without help, without complaint. Then back to me. You walked into this wedding knowing you weren't wanted, and you still came. For your son, for the sake of peace. That's strength. His voice cracked a little. You didn't deserve to be ridiculed. Not by Camille. Not by anyone. The room was frozen, staring, processing. I felt like I was watching someone else's life. Camille let out a nervous laugh, trying to regain control. Jules, come on, she said lightly. It was just a joke. Julian held up a hand. No, it wasn't. His tone shut her down instantly. This isn't humor, this is humiliation, and I won't be part of it. Gasps rippled through the room like waves. Julian looked at Teresa next. Mrs. Alvarez, with all due respect. I've never seen a mother treat her daughter with such cruelty. I've seen Ria smile through it. But tonight, I saw her son watch it happen. And that's where I draw the line. My mother opened her mouth to respond, but nothing came out. She looked stunned, like no one had ever called her out before. Because no one had. Julian turned to Camille. I love you, he said, his voice soft but steady. But if this mockery, judgment, cruelty is what comes with the package, then I need to rethink everything. Camille stepped toward him, whispering something I couldn't hear. Julian shook his head. I can't marry someone who sees pain and turns it into performance. He placed the mic on the table and walked out. Just like that, no dramatics, no shouting, just quiet, devastating truth. Milo's hand gripped mine tighter. Is he leaving? He whispered. I couldn't answer. I was still frozen. My heart was thudding so loudly I could barely think. Around us, the room had cracked. People were whispering. Someone was crying. Camille just stood there, eyes wide, frozen in her glittering dress. Suddenly, no longer the star of the show. Teresa looked like she'd swallowed vinegar. She stood abruptly, slamming her napkin on the table. What an ungrateful man. She spat. He humiliated her. In front of everyone. He's just like Ria, selfish, always needing to be the victim. But her voice, usually so commanding, fell flat. This time no one cheered, no one nodded. The spell had broken. The crowd didn't respond the way she wanted. Instead, they looked away, embarrassed, maybe ashamed, maybe. Finally seeing it, I pushed my chair back slowly. Milo stood with me, quiet, unsure. I didn't know what to say, so I just took his hand and started walking toward the exit. We passed tables of people who had known me since I was 5, who used to hand me birthday cards and hug me at holidays, and not one of them could meet my eyes. Halfway to the door, I heard a voice call my name, Ria. I turned. It was my grandfather, Arthur, 78 years old, silver hair, the only person in my family who used to tell me I was fierce like fire. He stood slowly. His hands trembled. I'm sorry, he said. His voice was thin, trembling. I should have stopped it years ago. I nodded, too stunned to speak, but I didn't hate him. I understood the cost of silence. I'd paid it my whole life, but now, I wasn't carrying it anymore. I walked out of that wedding, not in shame, but in something else, something I couldn't name yet. Outside, the air was sharp with early spring wind. Milo looked up at me. "Is the wedding over?" he asked. I nodded, double quotes, "Yeah, baby. I think it ended exactly how it was supposed to." We didn't talk much on the drive home. The radio stayed off. The streetlights passed in stripes across Milo's face as he leaned his head against the window. His fingers drummed quietly on the armrest. I reached over and held his hand, and he didn't pull away. When we got home, I ran him a warm bath and laid out his favorite pajamas, the ones with the dinosaurs on skateboards. He brushed his teeth without me asking. When I tucked him into bed, he didn't ask more questions. He just hugged me longer than usual. I stayed in the hallway outside his door for a while, listening to him breathe. The silence in our apartment was different than the silence at the wedding. This one didn't suffocate me. It held me. The next morning, I woke up to 17 missed calls, unknown numbers, distant cousins, a couple of names I hadn't seen on my screen in years. Then came the texts. "Are you okay?" I had no idea. "Julian is a legend." I didn't reply. Not yet. Then a friend, someone I used to work with at the cafe, sent me a message with a link. "You need to see this. It's all over Facebook. 7 views already." I clicked the link. There it was. A video, grainy, a little shaky, shot from someone's phone across the reception hall. Julian, standing tall, voice clear and calm, calling out the laughter, naming the cruelty, and me caught in the background, eyes wide, holding Milo's hand. The comments flooded in faster than I could read them. "This man is husband material. Too good for that family. She's a warrior." I'm sobbing. Every single mom watching this just stood up a little straighter. "Protect Julian at all costs. I hope she knows how many of us are on her side." I didn't cry. I didn't smile. I just sat on the edge of my bed, still, like something inside me had finally exhaled, like I'd been bracing for years, and didn't realize how tightly I'd been holding myself together. By lunch, the video had passed 100,000 views. By sunset, Camille was spinning. A mutual acquaintance posted on her Instagram story. "Camille says it was all a joke, that people are too sensitive, that Julian was stressed and overreacted, but no one was buying it." The truth had already landed, and this time, it wasn't getting swept under any rug. 2 days later, a small bouquet of wildflowers showed up at my door. There was no note, just a simple card that read, "To the Lioness." I didn't need to ask who it was from. Julian hadn't called, but he didn't need to. The wedding was officially called off a week later. No statement, no public fallout, just the quiet deletion of photos, the untagging of names, the soft disappearance of what was supposed to be the perfect day. Camille returned to her curated, life-filtered, polished, untouchable. She didn't reach out. She probably wouldn't, and that was okay. Teresa called once. I let it go to voicemail. She didn't apologize. Of course not. Instead, she said, "You embarrassed the family by not laughing along." It was a harmless joke. "You always take things too seriously." I played the message twice. Not to feel hurt, but to remind myself how far I'd come. Then, I deleted it. That same afternoon, I sat Milo down on the couch and made grilled cheese just how he liked it, extra buttery, crusts cut off, ketchup in a little cup on the side. He ate too before speaking. "Is Uncle Julian coming back?" I paused. "No, honey, I don't think so." He looked down. I liked him. Me too. He was quiet for a while, then said, "He made me feel like we weren't wrong." I blinked. "What do you mean?" He frowned. "Like we weren't the weird ones. Like maybe they were." I reached for his hand. "You are never wrong for being kind, or good, or different from them." He didn't respond. But that night, when he went to bed, I saw his Spider-Man action figure standing in the middle of a Lego crowd giving a speech. A month passed. Then 2. The video eventually faded from the feed. People moved on. New drama, new weddings, new distractions. But something in me stayed different. I stood a little taller. I spoke with more certainty. I stopped apologizing for things I hadn't done. At work, I finally asked for the raise I deserved. At Milo's school, I signed up to read during library hour, even though I used to hide in the back row, and when Teresa called again, I answered. But only to say one thing: "I'm not your scapegoat anymore." Then I hung up, clean, simple, final, not angry, just done. I didn't need a grand apology. I didn't need Camille to come crawling or my mother to suddenly transform. I just needed to stop waiting for their permission to feel whole. That was the quiet victory. The one no one toasted. But it was real. It's been 6 months since that night. 6 months since a wedding became a reckoning. Since a man I barely knew stood up in a room full of people I had known my entire life, and did what none of them ever had. Called it what it was. Mockery, cruelty, cowardice, and then left. Without fanfare, without waiting for applause, just walked away. Like freedom looks, when it's done. Asking for permission, Julian and I never spoke after. Not directly, no text, no call, but I didn't need closure from him because what he gave me wasn't about him. It was a mirror, one that finally showed me who I really was without their filters. Without their shame, enough, Camille went back to her world. Her social media rebranded. Her wedding photos vanished from her grid. A new puppy appeared in there. Place a golden retriever. She named it Bentley. No one mentioned the wedding. Not publicly, but word got around. Quietly in whispers. In sideways glances at family events, I stopped attending. And every time someone asked what really happened, the answer was never the same. Some blamed Julian. Some blamed cancel culture. But no one blamed me. Not anymore. I still live in the same apartment. Still work mornings at the cafe. Evenings at the front desk. Still make 2 dinners on Thursdays, because Milo likes fish sticks and I don't. But now, I carry myself differently. I take up space. I speak louder. I laugh freely, without checking the room first. I don't flinch when someone says my name. I don't duck out of photos. I don't try to make myself small so other people can feel bigger. I'm done shrinking. Milo's changed too. He asks more questions now, big ones. Like, why do people hurt other people, just to feel important? And is it okay to walk away from your own family? And my favorite, do you think Julian is a real superhero or just a pretend one? Sometimes, when he thinks I'm not looking, he stands in front of the bathroom mirror, holding his toothbrush like a microphone, practicing speeches, saying things like, "That's not kind. You don't talk to people like that. Stop laughing. She didn't do anything wrong." I watch him and realize he saw something that night. Something important. Not just someone standing up, but someone walking away when it mattered most. One night, after brushing his teeth, Milo looked at me in the mirror and said, "Mom, are you still sad about what Aunt Camille said?" I paused, meeting his reflection. "No," I said quietly, "not anymore." "Why?" He shrugged, toothpaste foam still on his chin. "Because I think you won." Even though it wasn't a fight. That stayed with me, because he was right. I didn't yell. I didn't curse. I didn't flip a table or cry in public or make anyone choose sides. I simply stood, held my son's hand and walked away. And someone else's son expected, uninvited, decided that silence wasn't good enough anymore. Julian didn't rescue me. He didn't have to, he chose to, and that matters. Because too many of us wait for someone to pick us up off the floor, forgetting we have legs. Too many of us wait for approval, forgetting we have worth. That day, Julian reminded an entire room and maybe the whole internet what real strength looks like. It's not wearing a white dress or a tuxedo. It's not standing at the head table or giving a perfect toast. It's standing up when the easy thing is to sit down. It's saying this isn't okay. Even when your voice shakes. So no. I didn't dance at my sister's wedding. I didn't toss a bouquet. I didn't cry under fairy lights or post a filtered photo captioned "forever and always." But I walked out with something better than approval. I walked out with my son, my dignity, and the quiet certainty that I would never again wait for permission to feel proud of myself. That is the ending no one expected, and exactly the one I deserved. If this story moved you, if you've ever been made to feel small in a room full of people who should have had your back, I want you to remember something. You matter. Your voice matters, and silence is not strength when it protects cruelty. We get to choose which stories define us. We get to rewrite the ones they tried to write for us. I hope you walk away from this video a little taller, a little braver, and a lot less alone. If you've ever had someone stand up for you, or if you had to be the one to finally say, "No more," tell your story in the comments. Let someone else see themselves in your strength. And if you're still waiting for that moment, let this be it. You don't need their permission. You never did.